recording now. I think you will have to accept, and I will share my presentation. Just a moment. So sharing. Okay. And I will put that in presentation mode. Okay. So I start again. So thank you everyone for joining for this lunchtime session. So this is the 6th session we have organized as part of the CREATHRIV-EU session, and this is the last one, as our project will come to an end at the end of August. And the aim of this session were to provide some networking opportunities for clusters that are supporting the cultural and creative industries and other connected sectors, and also to provide some content and some presentation from experts on identified challenges for this cultural and creative industry. So the topic of this session is the funding of CREATHRIV and cultural industry and investment and capital raising in those sectors, which is a big challenge. I think you will all agree with that, a big challenge and a big, issue that different clusters and professionals that are supporting enterprises in these sectors are confronted to and need to have information about. So today our program, so it's first this introduction and objective of the session. Then we will start with an example of fund that is national based or in the French-speaking part of Belgium, which is called Start Invest, and it's the general manager, Virginie Civray, that will share some information on their activity, their methodology, and general information about capital raising in the cultural and creative industry. Then we will have 2 speakers from European level. So Majej from DG Connect, I'm not trying to pronounce your last name, sorry, from DG Connect will present the Invest EU program. And Andrea will provide a short presentation on some additional resources for fundraising in the cultural and creative industry. And we always leave some time in those sessions for open discussion on and networking opportunities. Someone is speaking maybe, or someone should mute micro. Let me just ask, okay, I'm just muting, okay. So normally the feedback form, we share it at the end of the session, but I'm already sharing this. So I invite you to scan this QR code, because I know that sometimes people are leaving before the end of the session. And if I present this only at the very end, so then I miss some people. And as we made this session totally open, I don't have all the email addresses people are participating today. So it's also a way for us to keep in touch with you. So please scan this QR code. And of course, about the feedback on the session, you can only give it later, but you can also provide your contact details. So thank you very much. So a quick introduction, but I think most of you know about it. So I'm going to be very fast now. So CREATHRIV-EU is a Euro cluster for thriving creative and cultural industry. It has run for almost 2 years now. It will finish at the end of August. The aim of this project was to bring back this sector on a sustainable growth path after the COVID-19 pandemic. There are 5 clusters that are part of the consortium. Basilicata Creativa is the coordinator of the project. Giovanni is with us today. There is a cluster based in Lithuania, Baltic Film and Creative Tech Cluster, a cluster based in Hungary, in Oscar, that is quite focused on digital technologies. our cluster from Wallonia, Twist, technology from Wallonia for image, sound, and text. We are focusing on digital technology applied to audiovisual, sports, entertainment, and culture. And a Greek cluster called Coralia, focusing on gaming and creative technologies. And we have Katerina today from this cluster. So the aim, as I said, was to build resilience in this sector, to promote the twin transition, so a green transition and digital transition in this sector, supporting skilling of the workforce and supporting internationalization. So this program supported by the COSME DG Grow program is really focused on, like, targeted at SMEs. So through the cluster, we are supporting SMEs in these sectors. And how did we do that? Through cluster collaboration and to have a cascade effect on the SMEs, as I just said. So we had a first call for project and we funded 80 SMEs from 16 countries through 46 small-scale projects that received 5,000 each. We also supported 32 collaboration projects that received each 20,000 euro. And as I said, we were supporting also internationalization. So we provided travel grants inside Europe and outside Europe. And we had a second call, which had the form of a prize, which is still going on, actually. So it's a cross-fertilization prize, and the aim is to reward SMEs in the creative and cultural sector, but that are excelling in cross-fertilization. And what do we mean by that? Is basically collaboration between CCIs and other economic sector, and the aim is to celebrate the sharing of knowledge across different
nekog klijenta na Kosmoju koji je dobar sa opštinom Sopot i onda kao hoće nešto da rade na Sopot film festivalu. Pa me Ana zvala da me pita kakav je to festival. I ja ovako stala, ne znam ni sama što da joj kažem.
Maite, can you mute everyone by default?
I don't know how to do that. So let me check.
I think that.
So.
Okay, but now it's
okay. No, I can try. So I'm just letting someone in, and then now I'm checking. Well, I think it's okay now. If the problem appears again, I will do it again. Okay, so I was talking about, and now I'm going too fast. So about this cross-fertilization prize. So I explained you the concept of this prize. We have run already the first phase of this prize. So we selected 15 finalists that represent a diverse array of countries and creative fields. And the next step is that these finalists will come to Belgium and they will present their project through a pitching session during our final CREATHRIV-EU event on the 9th of July in Liège in Belgium. And the top 5 winners will receive prize that go from 3,000 to 13,000 euro. And we will have 2 special awards for green innovation and women-led innovation. In total, we will redistribute 51,000 euro through this prize. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about the network of cluster and business organization that are supporting the cultural and creative industry. That was another important activity of this CREATHRIV-EU project. So beyond supporting SMEs, the aim was really to create a strong network between all these clusters and all these professionals that are supporting the economy and SMEs, and to establish link and partnership. And we want this network to continue living after the end of the Euro cluster. We are discussing, so we are basically already, we have a plan among the 5 clusters that are in the CREATHRIV-EU project to give us, to sustain this network. And we have officially signed an agreement also with the other. There was a second Euro cluster focusing on CCI that actually will continue longer than our, called Friends CCI, and we have a formal agreement with them to collaborate. So it's 5 more clusters that are already part of this network, and all the other cluster and other organizations that took part to our activities. The aim is to make the voice of all these organizations heard and contribute to develop calls for action targeted at the CCI cluster community, but also at the European Commission that we have present today. Also, as I said, to have some expert and access to knowledge and share insight on the challenges that we have identified. And I said already, get insight from experts. So I had planned a tour de table. I'm going to stop sharing my presentation for a few seconds. And I was thinking if there are not too many people, we can do a quick tour de table, but I'm going to be to ask you to be very fast because we cannot spend an hour on that. So just telling your name, your organization, what type of organization, like a cluster or something else, and the country maybe. So I'm going to start with Zsolt.
Hello, my name is Zsolt. I am Managing Director and Cluster Manager of InnoSCAR Digital Cluster Hungary, and we are one of the consortium partners in this very nice project.
Thank you. Giovanni, I already introduced you, but I let you.
Yeah, I'm Giovanni Scaramuzzo, representing Basilicata Creativa, the cluster for creative and cultural industries in Basilicata in south of Italy, and that is coordinating this project.
Anders.
I'm Anders Karlsson. I am representing the Swedish cluster Visual Sweden with the focus on visualization and image analysis. Yeah.
Welcome to you. I'm Katarina.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Katerina and I represent Coralia, which is an incubator, youth entrepreneurship accelerator, and multi-facilitator established in Athens.
Thank you. Manu, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
My name is Manu Di Martino. I'm a choreographer and digital artist. I'm a member also of the Cluster Twist, and I receive, I don't know the name, a bourse about, yes, just a few weeks later, and it was great.
So yeah, Manu is the organization is called Ocus, and he received funding for pilot collaboration projects. Yeah, so Nikolaus. Some people don't have the camera on, so I don't know. Okay, Arthur, maybe. So people that don't have the camera on,
Hi.
maybe. Ah, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on the go, but yeah, I'm Arthur Regal. I'm director at KEA, which is a consultancy and research center based in Brussels. And we are conducting several studies on culture, creative industries, including, of course, what we are discussing today, which is more on funding for the creative industries. So yeah, nice meeting you all and looking forward to the discussions today.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I didn't give the opportunity to the speaker to talk now because you will have your, while you are talking, of course, you will introduce yourself. So, okay, so I'm going to, just a second. Just a moment, I'm going back to, okay. So I'm just going to talk 1 or 2 more minutes and then I give the, I will let our speaker speak. So just a second, I'm sharing the screen. Okay. Okay, so before I let our experts talk, I just want to provide some facts and figures about the economical weight of cultural and creative industry. So in Europe, there are 12 areas of activity that are recognized as being part of cultural and creative industry. You can see them all below. So the CREATHRIV-EU project was focusing on some of these subsectors, not all of them. For example, we didn't focus on architecture and fashion, but we covered most of the other sectors. So these figures are from 2019, but this sector represents a revenue of 645 billion euro at European level, which represents 4.7% of the EU GDP and 7.6 million jobs. So it's actually the third largest employer in Europe. And the added value of the cultural and creative industry is bigger than the added value of telecom, chemicals, and automotive all together. So it's always good to remind these figures, because sometimes when we talk about cultural and creative industry, it has this image of being something nice and fun, but it has also a huge economic impact. Just to give so few information about growth of investment and capital raising in the cultural and creative industry. So as I just said, it's a significant economic contribution. So I just mentioned some figures at EU level, and if you look at global level, it's also, of course, a major contributor to GDP. And for example, in 2013, these sectors generated 2.3 trillion globally. It's difficult to represent what is 2.3 trillion, but it's accounting for 3% of the world GDP. In terms of employment, it represents at global level 29.5 million jobs, making up to 1% of the world active population. And it's a sector that is growing very rapidly, and one of the fastest growing segment of the global economy. So just some few more information. So in this context, investment funds in cultural and creative industry provide a crucial financial support. And it ranges from venture capital for new brands to project to growth capital for mature companies. And we will hear much more from our expert very soon. And of course, Europe, Asia, and North America are experiencing already a rapid growth in these economies. But there are other regions that will join this growing path very fastly, like Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America. We see, for example, at Cluster 3, we are focusing on Africa as one of the part of the world on which we want to support our SMEs to internationalize their activities. So there are huge potential there also for audiovisual and other cultural and creative industry. So that was a short introduction from me. And now I'm going to stop sharing and I will give the floor to Virginie Civray. So I let you introduce yourself and then go on with your presentation. Yeah.
Hi, hello everyone. Thanks very much for this invitation. I'm sorry because some of you around the Zoom are knowing very well Start Invest, so maybe it will be a little bit something like a repeat of what you know, but so the idea here today was to talk about Start, how we work, what is our target, who is our network, and some maybe methodology was very targeted to creative industries, methodology to find finance and how to speak to investors. So maybe I will make it less technical than it was prepared, and to go through the idea of a national fund. So how do we work? So I'm the CEO of Start Invest, which was created about 14 years ago. It is an investment fund, and it offers financing solutions like loans and equity investments to creative companies based in Wallonia and Brussels. And we are a financial instrument quasi unique in Europe, we have to say, so we are very proud of it. And we were created to provide a direct funding solution, but also to work with collaboration and to find other partners for the implementation, of new funding solution required public and private co-investment in CCI's sectors. Sorry again. Today, the fund capital is an amount of 38 million euros. The shareholders are the French-speaking community, which is called Fédération Wallonie-Bruxelles, which is in charge of culture, and the two regions, the Wallonia one and the Brussels one, which are in charge of economy. So it is the link between culture and economy once again. We focus on small and medium-sized companies, including non-profit entities, which is quite important in our environment. And we support companies, absolutely not projects themselves. Which kind of companies do we finance? We finance the creation, the growth, the development of startups or established businesses by providing them with a financing solution at each stage of the life cycle, which is quite important for our area. And as I say, the aim is also to include leverage effects with banks and private investors. What are the sectors that we target? Architecture, performing arts, plastic and digital arts, audiovisual, design, publishing, video games, cultural mediation, fashion and textile, museum, music, heritage, etc. So it's a wide range of subsectors, but the link between them for us as investors is the IP, is the creation of rights, of brands, IP. So it is really our investment focus on creation. We don't really invest in services or in IT, in softwares. Even though we did once in artificial intelligence for music some years ago. So we are thinking about to extend, in fact, our vision on investment before the creation and after the creation for distribution, etc. And we are thinking about an extension in software and services too. So, but it is in process. So, but it is a vision that we have to share with our shareholders. And maybe you know that in Belgium, the vote was 15 days ago. No, yes, 15 years ago. So the government will be there, we think, during the autumn, and we have to share with them the new ways, maybe, of thinking of financing. So we will wait a little bit. If you want to see our different products, you can go on the website. It will be easier because it's not so. It's a little bit boring if I expose to you today all the type of loans and that we do. The website is in part in English, so the general information are in English on startinvest.be. You have example of investment, but they are in French. I'm sorry, but we didn't translate everything. But with the IA, I think that we will have a very soft solution in a few days to do that. So maybe to expose you the eligible condition for applying for start funding, beside of the sectorial criteria that I talked a few moments ago. Beside the fact of being an SME, you have to be established in Wallonia, Brussels. So it is a limit, of course. You have to be an SME. I don't have to tell you what the SME's definition is viewed from the European Commission point of view. To present a viable and sustainable investment program, to be sustainable without depending mostly on subsidies and grants, and propose a vision in which employment is created and or developed. That's very important for us. This is the base of the criteria. Of course, there are a lot. I wanted to share with you what are the links that we have with the InvestEU program that will be presented after by Majek. It's very important because we have a link with the European Commission and European Investment Funds from years now, which is very interesting for us to speak and to have the chance to exchange with all the departments. So we are now an intermediary for InvestEU guarantee, and we were and we are still in the first program, which was called CCSGF. It was Culture and Creative Sectors First Guarantee. So we do have an experience of maybe 5 or 6 years now, and it was really a good experience. I can make a testimony. This has enabled us to cover nearly 80 loans during the first program. So it is really very important for us and for the investor that we are. As I say, START usually provide 50% of a company financial need, and with the aim of attracting private co-investment through this cooperation with banking partners, alternative investors for the remaining 50%. So consequently, when you have a support like the InvestEU guarantee, it is not limited only for the financial intermediary that we are, but it benefits for the entire cultural and creative ecosystem in Belgium. So really, I have to say, and it is not because Majek and Andrea are there, that to be an InvestEU intermediary sends out a very strong and positive signal to the entire cultural and creative ecosystem here in Wallonia and Belgium. So thanks to you, and thanks to all the staff for EIF and for the European Commission. So after that, let's talk about methodology a little bit. Is it okay for you?
I think it's
until now? Okay. So, but as you know, access to credit remains difficult for creative businesses, and mainly due to intangible nature of their assets, lack of guarantees, the limited size of the market, uncertain demand, and the lack of financial intermediaries who are capable of addressing specific features of the sectors. So you know that you work with companies and you work with them for seeking finance. You already know that an investor will be sensitive to a series of points and information. So I have a quick list. I won't go in detail, but maybe it's good to make this list again. It's like a point of attention for everyone, for the companies itself and for the people who are involved in a way in CCHF. So the first point is to bring together the right people for the right project, of course. The second one is to validate everyone's involvement. As you see, for us, the first points are around the people, not the project, not the sectors, but people. Third point, have a good medium and long vision of the project. 4, validate ideas for rapidly confronting them with the target market. This is a big point, of course, with a lot of details. Maybe I will send it to Maite so she can share to each participant the details of this presentation, but I don't want to be so long today. The fifth is to anticipate financial requirements, of course. 6 is drawn up realistic forecasts. 7 is to find the right finance, loan or capital for the investment required. 8 is to put together a sufficient and balanced financial package. 9 is to optimize the company's offers in relation to the return expected by the investor. And 10 is to develop the negotiation skills. So this is like a map for us and for the companies, I think. What is the overall implementation strategy and networks of start? As I already say, we are the only lending actors solely in the sphere of CCS in the French-speaking territory of Belgium, of course. And after 14 years, the goal is to become the one-stop shop for financing culture and creative through a wide range of products who are adapted for each stage of the SMEs and each subsectors of it, which is important because the realities are very different between subsectors. But we want to be part of an ecosystem, and the aim is to have this diversification of sources of funding and the leverage effect. So, beside of start, you can find here in Belgium tax incentive, which are very important, public subsidies, of course, sponsoring and mecenat. I don't know how to translate mecenat, but mecenat and sponsoring. You have, of course, always the 3F, family, friends, and fools. You have the crowdfunding and the crowd lending, the private investors like business angels. You have the venture capital funds, the banks, and sometimes, as it is the case in the Belgian territories, public invest funds, generalist one. So on the supply side, investment providers are for us from different fields. The business angel, here you have the Réseau B Angels. We work with them from years now. You have systems like crowdfunding platform like Spread. You have crowd lending platforms like Look and Feel, which is very interested by the creative subsectors. You have private funds, like CoFoundry, which is a Flemish funds, and we work with them. SPDG, which is a private family office, the factory, and you have the Euroquity platform, which is a platform managed by Wallonie Entreprendre. You have a lot of public funds like Wallonie Entreprendre, like Finance and Invest Brussels, like 9 Invest, who are spread through the Wallonia. And every of these 9 funds have venture capital funds. For some who are dedicated to creative industries, but not for everyone, of course. You have a lot of grants for export. You have Wallonie, Bruxelles, design mode, music, architecture, image, fashion and design, etc. You have grants from the cultural administration. So there are a lot of possibilities of co-investment, because we are thinking in terms of co-investment, linking the public grants, the tax incentive, the private investment, the crowd lending platforms, the banks. So it's like a mosaic of financing, and it is always like this. Of course, the banks and the SMEs network. In these networks, there are clusters of course, like Twist, like Play in Brussels, accelerators in Wallonia and Brussels, public centers for enterprise, and association, federation of the subsectors. Maybe I can finish my talk with a wish list. There are a lot of useful European tools. We talk about the guarantee programs in the past, and we are in this in a session which is due to calls from all the different DGs, Growth, Connect, EACS, etc. So it's very important for me to follow this call, who are directly for creative industries. And for the economy of it, the financing of it, and maybe for the skills of it, because entrepreneurs needs a lot of different skills in these areas. Maybe I can have a few words about EIT culture and creativity, the KIC program, which will be interesting, I think. And we are part of an investors club, because the problems remains the trans-European investments question. It is still difficult to find equity partners capable of understanding the subsectors, capable of investing large amounts of money over a long term. So it is still a challenge for us, because the returns on investment are generally longer than in technology companies. So yeah, we have competition there. So we still have a way to go. So I think we have to work on that, and I think that Maciek will share this vision. So thanks very much. I hope to have not been so long, and happy to have questions.
Thank you very much, Virginie. I think it was really interesting. And yeah, are there some questions to Virginie? We can ask also, we can ask now or later.
It was pretty clear.
Yeah, I think it is interesting also that you provided your place in the whole ecosystem also. So that was a very interesting point, of course. And the other point that you raised at the end of your talk about the challenge. So it was also, as I said, the role of our Euro cluster was to identify what are the big challenges for the cultural and creative industry, and this trans-EU investment, I think is, I mean, it's definitely something we should continue working on. And the fact that if some like, I have the word in French, like, yeah, to be able to make collaboration and funds that are international and not only like montage in one country.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's difficult because sometimes it's linked to a tax incentive in the country. So you have the tax shelter here in Belgium, which is a tax shelter for starters and growing companies. But of course, it's you have to be you have to pay your income there to have this tax incentive, of course. So, but I'm not sure that we can find a European tax incentive because because it is not the point. Of course it is not. So but I have some discussion with investors, and they say to me it is not only a question of tax incentive, of course not. It is a question of social and territory impact too. If you want to be part of your country, of your economy, region, city, it's important to follow and to invest in local companies. So you have that dimension too. It's not only a question of for some of them of return and tax incentive. So maybe it is that, but is again it is very territory driven.
Yes.
So we have to raise a real European community of investors in that sectors. It is a bet.
I see that Giovanni is raising hand, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted just to ask, I don't know if I missed the point, because at a certain point I had issues with my earplugs. I would like to ask, what are the criteria that you use for assessing how good is an investment? Because normally venture capital use a beta multiplier, someone else a payback period. So what are you doing? How can you assess if an investment is good enough for you?
It's very different if you're talking about loans or equity investment, because it's two separate words. So for equity, of course, we'll have to measure the return on investment and what will be the horizon for an exit or to sell our shares to the entrepreneurs. It is the best case for us. But the most activity of the start fund is the loan activities. It was not a choice, of course, but it is not a choice. In fact, it's the demand from the entrepreneurs. From the moment they are much more interested by loans than equity. It's not short-term loans. It's for the major part of the loans. It's 5 years reimbursement, and we have only one product which is very special because it's for cultural institution. It's the cultural loans, and you can have a plan for 20 years of reimbursement. So of course the due diligence of loans and equity will not be the same. The due diligence between what we call a short-term loans, which is 5 years, and a 20 years plan, it's different. The strategy are different. The type of entrepreneurs are different. A museum, which is calling for a cultural loan for maybe 12 or 15 years of reimbursement as a strategy, a target, an impact on culture, cultural territories. So it is one of the things that we are looking for instead, or a part of the financial criteria. Of course, what you have to see when you make loans is the capacity of reimburse. In fact, it is all the work of due diligence that we do. So I can't give you all our secrets, of course, but if you have specific question, we can talk about it when you want.
Thank you very much. So I think, Giovanni, you want to add something?
No. I want obviously I missed the point about equities and loans because, I think that it will be very interesting to go into equities sometimes, because obviously for loans it's probably it's easier to understand this approach. Probably and this is my perception, that probably there is a huge lack in terms of equity investment for cultural companies. I would like to understand how an investor would approach an equity investment in cultural companies.
The main problem is knowledge, in fact, for investing in equity. It is not a problem for us because it is our sector, but it is a problem for co-investors in the private field. So in fact, what we see is that they have not a good comprehension of the maturity of their investment. It is not only a comprehension of the sectors, to know the market, because we invest in companies who are in a European or world competition. If you invest in fashion, a new brand or something like that, or video games, it is a world competition. So of course you have to know about these markets. But in fact, I saw that particularly in design and fashion, the few investors want to copy paste what they do in another sectors, tech sectors, etc. So they want a rapid go back and of the cash and a good exit, but it is you have to learn about that. It's like a pedagogy, yeah? But do they want to? It is another problem. Even if they know, are they keen to invest for 10 years and to have a return after 10 years? It is one of the point.
Thank you very much. So now I'm going to pass on the talk to Maciej so he can present the InvestEU program. So you're welcome to share your slides also.
Thank you, Maite, and thank you, Virginie, for making such an excellent introduction. I will now take like a step up just to show you now how we think about those sectors from the European Commission perspective. My name is Maciej Szymanowicz. I work in the European Commission and DG Connect. We are cooperating very closely with DG Education and Culture on the culture and creative sectors. Historically, I'm also responsible for the parts of Creative Europe program, which is, as you know, grant scheme to different cultural sectors. I work mainly on the audiovisual part of this. And some years ago, we were indeed starting to think whether the subsidies, this is everything what we need in Europe, you know, and we did different studies, market assessments, and you see my slides, I suppose, right? And actually, Virginie very nicely summarized the obstacles that the companies from the culture and creative sector have with interacting with the financial sector, which actually the result was that, you know, the bankers and investors, they did not really saw this sector as a interesting business opportunity. This resulted in a huge market gap, but you had companies with a growth perspective and very good business plans, but we were not able to get financing. And as Maite was saying at the beginning, we had in Europe a very vivid and diversified culture and creative sectors, which was really like only targeted. This has changed over the years, but some years ago, mainly by the public subsidies. We didn't have tax breaks. We didn't have or very few financial institutions with understanding of the sectors. We didn't have investors. So that was the basic principle that the Commission and cooperation with financial sector in Europe, and Virginie was part of this our reflection group already years ago. We were thinking that maybe it makes sense to offer to banks a kind of a guarantee that they feel more secure in offering this type of financing to the companies, and that finally we will create a kind of a know-how base in Europe that these sectors of economy will be treated as other sectors of economy. As Maite was saying, you know, it's comparable to ICT sector, it's comparable to the HoReCa sector, and yet there's no standard way of financially servicing those enterprises. Before we start, just a short reminder how it works with the financial instruments, because it's different than the grants. So at the EU level, we are adopting the programs, financing programs, being this Creative Europe, being this InvestEU, and we are using a financial intermediary actually to like send this money to the real economy. In our case, 98% of funds for the culture and creative sectors is distributed via European Investment Fund, who then contracts banks or investors who sign the agreement, and Virginie was presented this very well, with a specific objectives, where they will invest, what type of investment they will do, what volume of loans they will give to a company. So actually, for us, and for you, your partner is your local financing institution. It's not the EIF, it's not the Commission. It's distributed via the financial institutions and the member states. So we started in 2016. Virginie was mentioning this as well, with Culture and Creative Sectors Guarantee Facility. Actually, it was a success. We had a lot of interest from a number of financial actors all over Europe. There were 22 agreements covering 23 countries, so most of Europe was covered. We also had like a mix of financial institutions and a mix of interests. So Start BE signed up, which is a specialized financial institutions targeting the culture and creative sectors. But we also had generalistic banks signing up for this specific tool. And then, for instance, the EIF, and Arthur is here from CREA, there was a specific, like a training program developed for those banks, which was called Capacity Building Scheme, to especially work with the risk departments in banks or with marketing departments to prepare a dedicated product for culture and creative sectors. Because as it was so new, we had to build, you know, the knowledge and understanding both on the side of the financial intermediaries, as well as to distribute this information to the potential beneficiaries from music, film, video games sector. And here very handy was actually our close cooperation with Creative Europe desks in Europe, which are like a network of a middleman between the Commission and the professionals in the countries. The results were quite okay, as I mentioned, over the till end 2022. There were almost 8,000 loans which were guaranteed by the CCSGF for nearly 7,000 SMEs. 1.8 billion euros in guaranteed loans, with a total financing of nearly 2.5 billion euros. And we were thinking at the beginning that the majority of the loans will go to the audiovisual sector. But finally, it turned out that the distribution was quite good, and that this assumption that, you know, in other sectors, people are waiting for this type of financing was right. So there was a financing going to books and press, to radio, to heritage, to artistic craft, to design, performing arts, visual arts, architecture. And in 2021, we started the implementation together with the European Investment Fund of the InvestEU program. And the idea here from the Commission side was different. we are stopping with the specific small programs, but we are offering one big program with specific political objectives. And as you may see, as one of the political objectives in this big InvestEU program is culture and creative sectors. What is new under InvestEU is that we are now not only looking to the debt side, but we are also trying to build, again, Virginie summarized very well what problems we have with the equity side in Europe, but we are also trying to solve this problem of, problems with fundraising for the equity by offering equity like now for the culture and creative sectors. And how as I mentioned before, the EIF here has like two strands of actions. From guarantees are directed to banks, but also to leasing institutions or alternative lenders. And we see under CCS part of this, but it's very useful because we have also specialized financial institutions, but for instance, specialized in film financing only. And Cannes this year, we signed 3 guarantee agreements with one very big IFSIC French financial institutions for whole range of the culture and creative sectors. But we also signed 2 agreements with lenders who are just focusing on film industry. And under equity, the EIF normally works with venture capital funds, private equity, debt fund. Like from the point of view with what type of financial institutions we can contract and go to the market, you see it's very broad. So actually this also increases the possibility to reach out specific culture and creative sectors. And why is it attractive to banks? I think Virginie summarized this very well. So this actually, with this type of intervention, we are limiting the risks for the financial institution. So in exchange, they can like create bigger portfolio of loans who are going to certain sectors or increase the volume of financing which goes. And for the final beneficiary, the company, it's of course creates a new source of finance, but also it was super important for the culture and creative sectors. It also allows us to improve the conditions on which the loan is given. For instance, the biggest problem before for the culture and creative sectors was the use of the private collateral. When the company wanted to take a loan, the owner of the company had to give his private house, for instance, as a collateral. And now under CCS, it's not allowed it actually. A collateral could be only linked to the professional activity of the entrepreneur. So you see this maximizes the possibility of take additional risks with financing quite substantially for the entrepreneur. This will be just, and it's very technical, but I just wanted to show you what we do with what the financial intermediaries are doing with this guarantee. We can cover the risk on the individual loan up to 70 and sometimes 80%. So this is a huge set of risks for the company. And instead, then financial intermediaries can focus on SMEs, but we also included, due to the specificity of CCS, we also, for instance, included small public enterprises. As Virginie was mentioning, for instance, this cultural institution, I suppose it's a small public enterprise, right? So, because in the CCS, sometimes you have this structures which are not totally private, but it's a mix of private and public. So normally this is excluded from InvestEU, but under CCS objective, this could be financed. What is also new under InvestEU is the maximum guarantee transaction amount. Before we had 2 million euros for individual loan. Now this amount is 7.5 million. I can tell you from the experience that average loan for the CCS is around 300,000 euros globally in Europe. For audiovisual, yes, it reaches several million, but the amounts, it's not microfinancing, right? The amounts are quite substantial. And what is also important on the CCS is the transaction maturity. So the loan cannot be given for a shorter period than 12 months. It used to be a problem for CCS as well, that loans were revoked under a very short period of time. So this again gives a kind of a additional security net to the entrepreneur, that the money that he can plan his business in a longer perspective. A little bit about the eligibility. We built it's a specific program, so it focuses on culture and creative sectors through the use of the statistical codes, but we are opening this up as well. So any company which received, for instance, a prize in the cultural domain or benefited from the tax rebate from the cultural domain is considered as cultural and can apply for loan backed by the InvestEU. And on the right-hand side, you see the main activities covered. So this is about the depth, and maybe now very briefly on what we are planning for the equity side. It was actually announced in Cannes Film Festival in May 2022, when the calls for expression of interest addressed to the equity financiers were published. What we want to achieve with this, as I mentioned before, we would like to co-invest with the investors. So taking up to 50% of the fund to make indeed it easier for the investor to find other investors who would join forces with him. We made some studies where to start, and it was for audiovisual where we decided to go, both for the production and for the distribution. But audiovisual in a sense will grow. So this will be film, TV production, video games, XR production, as well as distribution, cinema, TVs. So this is the purpose of investment, where we are talking to investors that when they are preparing their investment strategy, this should be the focus area. And why we did it more or less, it was the same reasoning as we started with guarantees years ago. We have a market. For instance, on video games, it was visible, for instance, by the number of Chinese investors, buying the video games companies. But we have very few European investors who are understanding the sector. So the idea was, yes, invest a bit of public money, work with those investors, limit the risks, and create a bench of people who understand, who are able and willing to invest, and finally offer the companies the possibility to get financing in the longer terms and bigger volumes than could be offered under the loan scheme. What is also interesting on the Media Invest is that it's not only for the companies. Of course, companies will be first target, but it's also possible to receive equity financing at the project level. As on the especially audiovisual production, you have this type of special production vehicles and things like this, which have big budget. It's also useful to offer this possibility of financing, where you have, for instance, a couple of entrepreneurs pulling the resources together, and then you have investors coming into this project and taking part of the project. We are still at the early phases of introduction. Because it's our colleagues from the European Investment Fund from the equity side who are very active on the market. Me, myself, I was attending Nordic Games recently to talk to the investors in the video games ecosystem. As this is so new, it takes a bit of adjusting on both sides, of the investor side and on EIF side as well, because it's a new type of client for them, to reach a common understanding. where to invest, how to invest, what due diligence elements are relevant for the signature of this agreement. And we are talking here big investments, right? So like direct investment of 25 million euros or something from the EIF side. But as you may have heard, last year the first deal has been announced with the Logical Ventures Pictures, which focus on cinematic and TV production in few countries of EU, and the more funds are coming. Also from the audiovisual investment, but also some focusing on the video games sector, and this should be announced quite soon, still this year. So just to sum up, we have now a number of instruments under the InvestEU. So we have guarantees, we have equity from Media Invest, we have equity, general type of equity for digitalization and CCS, and here, for instance, music sector is being served. But it's again like this link of technological development for music sector. So we see a lot this link between purely cultural element and technological element of this type of investment. What is also new, we will continue with capacity building and investment readiness schemes, but now this will be broader, of course. So not only for banks, but also for equity investors to increase their knowledge on the market. And you may find more information on the InvestEU portal, on the Access to EU Finance webpage, and on EIF webpage, where all the communication documents are published. And just maybe for your information, this is a couple of short promotional videos which were produced for the beneficiaries of CCS GF. Quite nice cases where actually real entrepreneurs from the cultural and creative sectors are saying what problems they had before and how, you know, access to finance really helped them to grow. And you have a number of examples here, from music festival to architecture to design to a company which invest in paintings and make them available to other companies, so they have, you know, access to art. So if you have time, maybe you might have a look. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Would be great if you could send me this after, so I can also share it. I think few people had to leave the meeting, but still we are recording this, and some people already asked me if they could have the recording to be able to look at the session later. So are there any questions? No. There is one from Virginie.
Ashek, you know that I will have this question. Media Invest is the first equity product. As you say, it's quite new, so you have to run it a little bit. But is it in the pipeline to extend it to other subsectors of creative industries, or is it too soon to speak about that? I'm quite interested by media and be very happy to speak about this product. But what is the future?
With Media Invest as such, I don't think so, because it's a blended instrument. So it takes part of the Creative Europe and part Creative Europe Media and part of InvestEU. But this is good for us, actually, if I may be again a bit technical, because InvestEU is first come, first served. Wow. So it means that sectors like ICT or health, etc., where you have a number of investors, they are just rushing and they are taking all the money. So for such a new sector like CCS and the equity, it would be almost impossible to get finance at all because of this, you know, long tail where you have to negotiate, you have to work on understanding, etc., etc. So currently we think that this will stay like this. For the future, of course, we think that this will be extended.
Mm-hmm. And I was wondering how we can deal with the new European regulation about investors from abroad in some of subsectors like video games, audiovisual, etc., all the tech linked to data and open source data, etc. Is it something difficult when you working on an equity product, or not really at the moment?
For the moment, not, because we only have European investors. And we are also quite careful right now with the investors who have global strategies, because we want them first to go on the European market. So, but later on, honestly, I don't know. And in general, EIF, InvestEU is open for the investment from, extra EU, but the money should be invested in EU, right?
EU,
so,
yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think so it's 1:15 now, and Andrea had some additional resources to share with us, so I'm going to give you the floor now.
Thanks a lot, Maite. Thanks a lot to our wonderful speaker. I will be super brief, I promise. I'm putting my presentation. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Putting
mode so we see it even better.
It's all a screen, no? It's okay? Because I don't see you, so I don't know.
Well, it's okay. It's not in presentation mode, but I think we can see, so it's fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So I will be super brief. Here I wanted just to introduce some additional resources, a report, and some tools that can be useful for the audience, maybe, I hope. So the first report I would like to introduce is the European Monitor of Industrial Ecosystems on Cultural and Creative Industry. And why this report? Because I will explain later, but we will see you are, as a Eurocluster, focusing on the twin transition. And in this report, we are picturing the twin transition of CCIs, and there is a specific section on investment that could be of interest to know the trends, and that could be nice for you to follow up. And then I will just mention a couple of resources that can be useful to find some funds, public and private. So to start, the European Monitor of Industrial Ecosystem, as you know, well, Eurocluster is linked to the EU Industrial Strategy launched in 2021, and we have defined 14 industrial ecosystems, and among those industrial ecosystems, we have the cultural and creative industries. So the idea of this report is really it's a yearly report. The first one was published this year, not last year, in 2023, and it is developed by DG Grow, and in cooperation with the agency EISMEA. And the idea is really, as I mentioned before, to assess the twin transition of the ecosystem. So in this report, we are talking about how these digital and green technology are adopted by CCIs, but also about skills, as Virginie said before, very important thing of CCIs and to access to funds, and also about investment. There will be a new report at the end of this year in 2024, and I encourage you to follow up this publication. For your information, it is also an annex of the annual single market report. Regarding the investment that we are assessing in this report on the twin transition, we are assessing the private investment in CCI, so meaning private equity and capital venture. But when we talk about the cultural and creative industry ecosystem, here what it's important to take into account is that we are not considering the fashion sector within this ecosystem in this report, because fashion sector for this report is under the report on textile. So it's important because numbers can vary, obviously, due to this fact. Regarding the sources of information of this report, for all the public investment, we are looking at database on public procurement. And for the private investment, we are looking at database on capital investment, but also on the OECD foreign direct investment data. The new
Andrea, sorry, but
yeah?
the slide are not proceeding, so maybe...
It's the same. I mean, it's the second...
Okay, we were seeing the first one, so that's why. Thank you.
The first one, sorry. Sorry for this.
You click on the, if you click on the presentation button, this little icon next
Wait, I will try again.
Thank you, sorry.
Sorry.
that you were seeing. Thank you.
Okay. Now do you see it? Second slide?
You see the second one, but yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so, okay. So as I was saying, the new thing of the EMI report for this year is that we will include also data on public funding, for instance, from databases like Coegio, developed by Regio. So it will provide a wider overview on the investment on the twin transition. So in general, what is stated in this report is that, as Matthias and Virginie already state also, that the investment in CCIs is difficult in terms of private investment because there is a difficulty to access to the debt and equity finance due to the fragility of the ecosystem. First, because it's an ecosystem mainly composed by micro enterprises, but also because due, in fact, to the goods are mainly creative, symbolic, so it's difficult to evaluate. But what it's kind of interesting is that there is an high growth pattern which attracts investors. Also, another element to take into consideration is the key role played by public authorities as financer of the CCIs, so through grants, as Matthias mentioned, and also they are investing in the professionalization and innovation and the twin transition of the CCIs. Also, another thing which is kind of important to underline is that there are a lot of alternative financing methods which have been raised in the last years. And for instance, among those, we have the crowdfunding, we have impact investment, we have venture philanthropy, but they are more related, all these alternative funding forms, to the impact more than to the financial return. So if we look at the numbers, which are in the EMI report on the investment on digital transition, what we see is we made a survey was made among more than 600 SMEs from the cultural and creative industries. And among the participants, 65% replied that they have increased their investment in the digital transition in the past 5 years. But if we look closer to the numbers, what we see that the amount invested is less than 5%. So we are talking about 27.3% of surveyed participants who state that they are investing less than 5% of their annual average revenue. So when we look at the kind of investment they are doing, we see an increase of investment in video games, in media technology, and in book publishing as the main technology in which they invest. In terms of private equity and venture capital in CCIs, tech companies, we see that there was an increase between 2015 and 2020, with a sharp rise between 2019 and 2020, in a coincidence with the crisis of the COVID, and then it was followed by a decrease in 2022. In terms of investment in the green transition, again, we use this survey procedure with all these enterprises, and among the participants, 51% state that they have increased their investment in the green transition. But again, like in the case of the digital transition, this amount invested of annual average revenue was lower than 5% for 23% 50% of the participants. When we look at the investment they made, mainly it's related to recycling materials and technologies, and also in all related to energy efficiency, energy saving, and renewable energy. So this was for the EMI report, just for you to know that it's coming end of this year, and it will be published on our website. In any case, I'm letting all the links to the references I'm stating here at the end of my presentation, so you will have it. I would like now to provide you some resources that I think that may be useful for you in terms of funding, capital raising, and so on. Some of them have been mentioned by, for instance, Matthias when he talked about InvestEU. So one of those resources is the access to EU finance portal. You can see if you look at the picture on the top left, a screenshot of this portal. So what you can find here, it's available financial opportunities in the several EU member states to apply to loans and to venture capital supported by the EU. So you will find, for instance, all the financial intermediaries that were mentioned. You will find probably Virginie and Start if you click on the country, and you can contact them to proceed. Then we have also a guide which is kind of interesting for you to consult in terms of funding, more public funding, is the Culture EU funding guide. So the Culture EU funding guide, it's from one side, it's a search tool, web search tool, so interactive one, where you can find a funding opportunity for your project according to the type of sector you are working on, the type of organization you're working in, and the kind of support you're looking for. If you're looking for funds for skills or for the audience engagement, so you have just to click on the boxes, and so they will provide you the tailored opportunity for you among the EU programs. And also you have a version in PDF, so it's the cover, the picture you can see on the right, and it's kind of interesting. You will find also information for sure on the InvestEU program on which you receive a presentation today. Another tool of interest is not funded by, it's not from the European Commission, but it's a project co-funded by the European Commission. It's the CREATHRIV-EU tool called So You Need Money. So you have a screenshot on the top right. This is a tool that allows you to look for financial opportunities according to the kind of organization in which you are working, the kind of sector you are working in, also the life cycle of your project, and also where you are based. So again, it's a little bit like the platform on Culture EU funding guide. You have just to respond to a questionnaire, and they will provide you the information. Which kind of finance option here you can find and are available? It's all related to donation, crowdfunding, philanthropy, public funding, microcredit, impact investing and venture philanthropy, loans, business angel, crowd equity, and venture capital. So a lot of possibilities here, and tailor support. Regarding tailor support also, I would like to mention the Enterprise Europe Network. So I know that you have had a webinar already on the which was on internationalization with Theo Felipe, who is a member of the Enterprise Europe Network. But just to remind you that this network is a European network which provide tailored support to SMEs and entrepreneurs in general, and also to the actors from the cultural and creative industries. The network has also a specific group on cultural and creative industry, where the members are gathering the needs and trying to find a good solution to respond to the needs of the enterprises and entrepreneurs which are coming to them in terms of cultural and creative industry. What it's important to say, it's also that this network is for free. of charge, so you can consult them directly, and you can have a free support. I put a picture of a success story. The two smiling people that you can see on the left are the woman is Valeria Todd, who is CEO of Fortissimo. She had a project about democratizing classical music pedagogy, to teach this kind of music to kids through gamification. And so in order to progress with her project, to look for funds, she addressed the Enterprise Europe Network. And so the Enterprise Europe Network guided her in order to apply for European program, Creative Europe. And she was able, thanks to that, to get a support of 1.7 million for her project. So it's a successful story that I let also the link at the end of the presentation if you want to know more. And another source of information, obviously I'm preaching for my house, so DigiGrow's website. On DigiGrow's website, you will find, I will recommend you to visit two specific web pages. The first one is the one on access to finance, where you will find a lot of information on business angel, crowdfunding, venture capital, equity, loans, Invest Europe. So you will find explanation on what they are, these kind of things, and which initiatives are supported by the EU, the Commission, in this sense. So it's a good way also to get familiarized with all of them and to have a big picture on what Commission is doing there. And also I would recommend you to visit our webpage on cultural and creative industries, where you can find what we are doing also at DigiGrow to support cultural and creative industries and to support them on access to finance. And we have been developing, for information, some products which will come live very, very soon. For instance, we have developed a podcast, and we had if you listen to this podcast when they will be out in the following days, we will have the good luck to hear also Virginie about Invest-EU, because we have a podcast on Invest-EU, but also a beneficiary from Invest-EU program, which can be super interesting for you to understand how it works and the point of view of the beneficiaries. And we have also other podcasts. For instance, one of them, well, it's on women entrepreneurship, but we have the good luck also to count on the participation of Claire Monk from Business Angels, Be Angels, sorry. So she shares some information about the Business Angel system. My next slide, just links of interest. I will share with you this presentation, so you will have all of them. And my last slide is just to thank you and to let us our contact. If you have any question or you need anything, you can contact us to this email, or also to my personal email, professional personal email, which is in the first slide. And I'm stop sharing.
I think many people left because, yeah, it's already 1:30, but I'm really glad that we have recorded this and that we can share. Thank you. I think it was a very complete overview of different financial supports in different forms that exist at European level. And we had the French-speaking Belgium example as well, as funding SMEs in Belgium, but also as beneficiary of European opportunities. So I'm going to close this session now. Thank you to the expert for sharing your knowledge and information, and thank you to the participants. I wish you a good afternoon and a good weekend already. And we will share the presentation and the resources later. Have a great afternoon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thanks.
Bye.